In West Africa, correct? Right. And then you was relating one of the netters with something that we saw that was Laos, right? LOA, and the Laos were utilized by Toussaint and his peoples in order for them to overcome the Haitian during the Haitian Revolution. So my question is, how do you relate the Egyptian hegemony of deities and say that they correlate exactly with the Laos, and how do you show the continuity between the two? How do you show that?
When you look at the Laos, there's hundreds of Laos. So that exactly. So why I said that is because a lot of those aspects deal with aspects of what? Nature. That's all I meant. So when we look at the Netaru, what are the Netaru?
Aspects of nature.
What is Shu? They'll say some is air. What is that? Teflon. So I see that there. They're not all lined up.
Then saying that the Egyptians directly.
No, it's not the same. That's why when you look at what I said that when we came over here, we used centristic bows, because when they grabbed us, you have the people from Dahomey. Those are the people with the voodoo. Then you had the Akan people here. So now you have this thing called Creole. And what that means is all of these things are mixed up together. So now when I was speaking about that, I was speaking about when we look at the Portuguese taking people from here, we went to Brazil first because they split this. The Spain got the other part, this part got that. When we look at the religion there, it's called Winti. And Winti is a composite of all of those, right? So when we see the Pantheon, they show you what it is. You can see the Afro-Sumerian, Suriname religion within inside of that. When I look at this, my thing is to follow the continuity of the people who left from West Africa to here.
But that's one thing. But now, what about them going back into antiquity? There's a book called. Yeah, I said, what about them? What about looking for the continuity from the West African culture all the way back to antiquity? So I say that to say, have you read the book Exile Egyptians?
Exile Egyptians, no, never read Exile Egyptians. So that would be looking at migration patterns. So when we look at migration patterns, we see that West Africa, big city pops up on the scene with Ouagadougou or Agados, and that city is said to be founded by who? Berbers. Who were the Berbers? These are Berbers. So Berbers are these nomadic people who stayed within inside of the desert. Right. So now when we look at the archaeologically of Ghana is not in the same place it is now, it's in a different place. But there was something called desertification. That used to, Right. So now the people started moving out. But these Berbers are the masters of the deserts. So these are the people who became the traders, meaning trading salt, etc.
That information from Kemet all the way to West Africa?
I didn't say Kemet. I said these people, they're usually from Pacific part. Some of them come from Morocco. North. Yeah, they from the north part. We know that they're from that part. So when they come from this part, they come with their skills. They bridge the gap. So now we're dealing with 300, 400 AD. This is before Christianity. This is before all of this stuff. So these are the original people who established the trade. Yeah, this is that go back to BC times. That's way back. Yeah, right. And the Berbers became the bridge between West Africa, the Sahara, and North Africa.
Saying that they're the ones that connected the knowledge that we knew of the ancient Kemetic culture to the West African?
I'm not going to say ancient Kemetic culture because now we got to be careful with that. As the Akan, where's the Netaru in the Akan? Where's Mayat in the Akan? Where is... Yeah, I don't care. Where is this at? I'm telling the truth. Where is this at? You can find some similarities, but you're not going to find that. So what I do is... I'm not going to say that. What I'm going to say is we want to find out who the people were. So when the Israelites say to me that fuck the Africans, they sold them into slavery, it shows a lack of knowledge of knowing why the slave trade happened. There's a book called the African warfare, 1500 to 1800. Within this book, it specifically describes the ancient warfare that was going on before the European even came over here. They did sell Africans, technically, but we was never one people. These people had different problems. The Fulani had problems with this tribe. So when they captured them, they've been doing it. They're like, get them out of here. I don't want you closer to me.
Yeah, but we're establishing that there was always tribal wars that was going on.
Always tribal wars going on. Always tribal wars going on. There never was this great unification of you so Africans. But
what's the name said if you find 6 Africans in a situation where what's his brother's name? Who did damn, I forgot the name of the book. I don't know how I forgot the name of the book. But he was saying that if you find 6 Africans that were being oppressed in Africa, that's called a travesty, because typically there was a utopian society where all of these cultures were in one.
Bullshit. That's a lie. So what I do is, my major beef with y'all, I don't care if you say that Yahweh is God. I don't care about that. Different, same concept, different name. My issue is when you say that these people that were took from Igbo land, or these people are Judah town, or what you would call Wadea, which is a mispronunciation by the Portuguese. When we have the Diomi system there, we have the serpent god there, what they call, we could see what they were doing and what they were worshiping and why they fell. So when you say that all of these people that came over here are these specific tribes, I don't see that there, because we would be able to see that culture when we got here. So when we asking, like, all right, show me the Hebrew culture here, show it to us. We saw a bad example of what Hashar did. He put up, I'm gonna let you go. He put up that article that talks about 1879, where you messed up because that's after slavery. When we get to it, we find out that in South Africa, these white Jews were over there and they converted them, and they were brought their way out of slavery by converting to Judaism. So this is why the man knew how to write Hebrew. This is bad scholarship. That's bad.
So let me ask you a question. So you're aware that there was several migrations into West Africa from the east? Yeah, I'll give you an example. When we talk about Mali, and in Mali we talk about the Dogon tribe, they were not the first people on those cliff areas there. There were several people that came before them, and now they're extinct. So the question is, if there were migrations from the east of people who would have this identity as being what we would call today, since we're talking about avoiding genetic fallacies, Hebrew Israelites, for lack of better words, if they did make their way over into that area, there would have been people there, number one, and number two, they would have had to do what we call trickle-down socialism, which means now if we're in the area and we're at the lowest class or at the bottom of a class system, in order for us to make any kind of success in that area, we'd have to convert over to whatever the indigenous tribe is that rules there. So I'm saying, and this is my argument, I'm saying that because there were several migrations, a lot of people that came over there, you're not going to be no king ruling in the area where people already got a kingdom established. You're going to be at the lowest bottom of the totem pole unless you convert over to the indigenous tribe's way of life. They're not going to let you come in there and just run everything with your own kind of system. So I'm saying is that a lot of migrations towards the west, they lost their identities over time, and there were other nations or other, now I'm not going to say nations, because remember we said there's certain tribal groups we can't even classify as civilizations, like you said, as far as the Igbo people. And I brought this up when I was debating Jabari. So the point I'm trying to make is that people moved over here over time, went extinct or migrated somewhere that we can't find them, and over time, whoever was the dominant players in that area, when the Europeans came to start documenting information, they were the ones that was on top at the time. So anybody else who lost their heritage prior to making it to that area, they wouldn't have been recorded. It would only be the people who are known in that area at that time who were kingdoms, who established kingdoms. With the exception of, Islam. Because until Islam came in there, we don't have a lot of writing of West African peoples, correct? So if various migrations came over there before Islam, then we wouldn't know today unless they would have survived Islamization, like the Akan people did.
So now here's the thing with that. Let's say that is true. Yeah. We do have migrations, we do have this. The difference with West Africa and traditional African religion is why you didn't see writing. This would makes it clear. So if you say, oh, those are the same Egyptians, then you would see hieroglyphics there.
No, not if it was the layman and not the royalty. Yeah, remember, the royalty were the ones, or the priests or the elite would be the ones to bring those type of hieroglyphics. The layman did not understand that.
Yeah, that's a study on it. But the whole point is we would see more of it. I mean, you would see these erections, you would see a bunch of stuff around. But what we do see is this. those specific people that are there, these migrations that took place, we want to see the culture. So when we look to say, okay, they might have forgot themselves. Let's say they did that. So now we should be looking for the Hebrewisms in their culture. We should see them talking about the patriarchs. Because remember,
but under different names.
Let me get this. Let me get this. So remember, you would say that it was oral tradition. So they will be talking about they coming from Moses. They will be talking about Abraham. They will be talking about all these things. So what we want to do is we got to pick a tribe. We got to pick somebody. So let's say we pick Igbo. That word, number one, is a misnomer on that whole entire land of 35 million people. That only applied to one Pacific part, which is in the northern. When the British did it, they just start calling everybody Igbo. Right. So when we look at this part of West Africa, we want to look at all of the oral traditions. And you'll notice that they all say that they come from, they'll say Erie, they'll say that they came from the Igala kingdom in the hinterlands, and they'll start pointing all of this out. Now you'll have later on, you'll see like I think it's 3 Pacific people that deals with, okay, we came from the East. Now, the only thing we could do is deal with process of elimination. We want to look through the whole entire system. So we're going to look at the Igbo calendar. How do they name their calendar? Their calendar is named after 4 Pacific deities, completely different. They do use the moon cycle, but it's a completely different thing. We look at their foods, completely different thing. When we look at all of their deities, completely different thing. When we look at their dance, see, this is the difference between West Africa and the other parts of Africa. Their culture is through their music, through their, right? But no, it doesn't matter, they don't have it, that's just how they communicate it. So through their music,
and this is good.
Yeah, their music, through their drums, through their clothing, and their festivals. So if we notice, all within that whole area, Igbo, the Yam Festival is the biggest festival. Why was the Yam Festival the biggest festival? Because that was the crop that was basically sustained.
So let me ask you a question. So when you look at the Gadangme peoples, right, and they talk about the Homowo Festival, there's some people in that community that say that they come from the Levant region, and they migrated there from the Levant region.
You're absolutely right. There are some people that say that, and what we find out is we have something called the Oriental hypothesis.
Well, I know about that.
Right. So when we get to that point, now this is where you have 2 people who are the foundations of this claim. The boy, I can't remember his name, is a black guy. He has a book, the Akan culture or something. His name is D. Aganagala or something. They're in constant arguments about this. Now, at this specific time, the same thing happens that we're talking about in South Africa. These people, when they interact with these Jewish traders, they find out that they're getting more for becoming a part of this. Exactly. It's a benefit for... Right. Exactly. So they seen it as a benefit. But when we look at all the oral tradition, we put it together, we see that you're gonna have damn near 13 to 1. When we look at their deities, yeah. Right.
Heard of the International Society for the Study of African Jewry before? I'm part of that.
Probably I did, but
I want to say articles from there.
Did you see the last DNA test on the Igbos? No. The last DNA test on the Igbos conclusively proves that DNA trait, they're not Jewish. They're having a heart attack right now.
You say they're not Jewish.
Meaning,
measuring them again.
Hold up.
That's another discussion. And this is why. This is why when you get somebody from Dagger Squad talking, they're gonna give you some good information. But if you're not able to follow what they're saying, then you can't ask them the right questions. This brother reads like what, 3 books a day?
Not a day. Definitely not.
That's what your teammates are saying. He reads a lot. Put it like that. Yeah.
I'm looking at all the trades.
Yeah.
You heard me talking on that thing when I was talking about the Jews. I want to find out who's these Jews.
And I told you for you to come back and give me all those sources for that website because they didn't list no sources. But he said you had the books. The crossing the.
Oh, it's in there. It's on the bottom of it.
I looked at it. I didn't see no references. They made some edits or some updates on some of the.
When you go to the bottom of the page, it's going to tell you Chronicles.
Okay, I'll go check that out.
I said when I originally talked, I said the origin of all of that comes from the Chronicles of Zuara, the conquest of Guinea, 1410 or 1415 or 1441. Yeah, this one is crazy. So it'll show you exactly who they put them next to and how they got this specific thing and that exact people. All right, let's read this. This is what it's called. It's from the Daily Times, the Igbos are not Jews. DNA will be this test. And this is the thing they use. Counter. Right. I seen that too. I seen that too.
Okay.
That was 2 days ago. 2 days ago. So it says the International President of Jewish Voice Ministries, Rabbi Jonathan Berger, announced that the results. You get it right now. Announced that the Rabbi Jonathan Berger announced that the result of saliva samples taken in Nuri has shown that the Igbo are not Jews. Members of the group had gathered at Urgi Nuwara to collect what would be confirmation DNA test results of Ndingo's claims that the Igbo are descent of Israel got to the venue as early as 9 a.m. on Saturday for the result that was reshape the relationship of Igbo and Israel. Rabbi Burners, who read the report from a laboratory based in Houston, Texas, the United States of America, said that the result of the samples taken from the Nigeria randomly on some people in Igbo land bear no semblance with the ones in the database of the laboratory. So we got to find out who those people are.
That's what I'm saying. So you got to look at the sample group that they're utilizing.
Now, this is what they did. They used the Israeli.
The what?
Israeli in company. Yeah. The Israeli in company of 3 of his compatriots said that none of the 124 specimens taken from Nigeria matched the samples in the Houston laboratory, which has 17 years experience with DNA.
So my question is, what DNA sample are they matching these Igbo samples against? Because if you're looking just for the J markers, that's a fallacy in itself. Because, I'll give you an example. The Judean bones that was found in Lachish, they were taken, 695 of them was taken to Europe. Test was done on them to measure craniometrics, right? Craniometrics is measuring the skull, etc. They see that these skulls match individuals from ancient Egypt. The question is, they never took any DNAs from people that they know for certain were the Judeans who died in that second burial, and they're using that sample to match against anybody else who makes these claims as being descendants from the ancient Israelites. It causes a problem because the established J1, J2 markers that you could say that you have some Semitic lineage that can trace you back to these so-called possible Hebrew Israelite peoples, they're measuring against something or a group of people that they find. Let's say, for example, they find a claim of the Sephardic, the Mizrahidi, the Ashkenazim peoples, and they take a sample from all these people who claim to be from a similar lineage. No, because wait, I got you. Yeah, I got you. And then they say, what do they have? They look at the haplogroups and say, what markers do they have in common? And they create this proposed, let's do a real one. They create this proposed idea that, hey, since they all have this marker in common, then they all genetically related at some point from some lineage. But they never dug up for people to say there's no bones. They say there's no bones, or y'all ain't got no bones, but yet when people make studies like that and they match it against a DNA sample of people who make a claim that we're from the same lineage, it all could just means that their ancestors migrated to certain places, settled down, and left an oral tradition with them. That doesn't mean that the claim that they're making means that they're actual Israelites from the text. We don't have any DNA samples to match against to make that conclusive. So they could have been a group of people from Levant, I'm almost done, who migrated, like I mentioned to you before, migrated over there, settled over there, and other groups could have came and populated on top of them, and now a social memory is being transferred, or one dies with the people and another group comes in. Because West Africa always had migrants coming in and settling in there. You're aware of that, right? Yeah.
Now, that makes sense to a certain aspect because they're using a lot of people today. So they're going to that. I know that they had to go to that specific reason. And they use the present people that's there in the Levant. And that's the only thing you could do. There's no other way to explain this. So we know that those people in that part, how we find out how people migrate is you either look at the Y chromosome and you look at those markers. So they looked at those markers in those specific areas, and they say that, okay, we're not gonna, but when you're dealing with that, right? We don't need bones to trace the actual markers that are on the Y DNA as well as the minor. You don't need bones for that because you use the what they do is, it's like, for instance, right? That's like saying, how do you know that our last common ancestor, us, not monkeys, make you get this straight, is not the Kozan people or the Sand people, without having the bones of anything else but prior to that? Because those specific people have the most diversity in their genes than anybody else. And then they go.
thesis.
Yeah, it's a thesis. It is. Right, because a scientific theory is different than a theory. That means that there's proof there. But so now, this is how we get around all of this. 1.7 million people were taken from Igbo land. We know that they went to Trinidad, right? We know that they came to Michigan. We know that they came to Virginia, and we know that they was in the islands. Now, here's how we solve this. You will have to be able to show us. You know what I'm saying? When we come, I mean, that's your theory. That's your theory. I mean, I'm gonna let you go right now. That's your theory, but what I'm saying is this: we see their writing when they come here. We see Sabidi. We see it here. We see their culture. We see their secret societies, the Ekpe. We see them. We see these with the masks. We see them running around. We see them dancers. We see their dancers. We see the Roomba in Cuba. We see the Abaca society. So we see a continuation of a culture, and it has nothing to do with no Bible at all. I know, but I'm just saying, and you a little different. But when we dealing with this social memory, we gotta prove this, because those people in certain parts of Igbo land, they say that they found them doing agriculture 11,000 years ago with the actual yams. So this means that they've been there since that time. So for a long time. Yes, migrations did happen because of the desertification, the lands moving in.
Islam brought new trade routes.
Right. So
we got the cowrie shells. And
right. So we see that, but we don't see. For not you, not for you, but for the major part of the people, these people got. We know 1.7 million people came here. Somebody over there should be coming here with that culture here. We see West African gods, we see West African culture, rituals, and secret societies. We don't hear nothing about these people coming from the Levant.
Say something, then I want to ask you one more question.
Well, real quick, just for the substantiated fact, there's two things I want to say. Just so I'm gonna touch on that, then I'm gonna backtrack a little. No, you can't. So, but basically, what I've pointed out a lot of times is the scriptures speaking expressly about a discontinuation of Hebrew heritage, which a millennial would do. You see what I'm saying? Like I said, you're good.
I didn't mean to do that.
You're good, kid. Oh yeah. So basically, the scriptures speak about the Hebrew culture being discontinued from their heritage. You understand what I'm saying? So it speaks about that. So that also is a part of the paradigm in which we're dealing with the fact that we understand that scripturally we would discontinue from our heritage, which a millennial or so do. Even with the West African, a lot of the West African culture that we brought over here, a lot of brothers have discontinued from and lost that even in the last couple of centuries, right? Now, so, no, right now, right? We can see some of it, you see what I'm saying, but then we don't. You see, a lot of us is trying to reconnect, so we can see that. But what I wanted to say, dealing with the DNA test that you just brought out, politically what's going on a lot is the Israelis are real up in arms about the American Hebrew Israelite movement. You understand what I'm saying? This is why we have the Anti-Defamation League working directly with local law enforcement, where we live to try to stop what we're doing. You understand what I'm saying? But of course, it's not just us. It's not just as big as us. It's a lot of campaigns that are being launched. So there's a lot of political influence in trying to now disqualify, because now they're saying, oh, they're using the Igbo connection, so they're trying to disqualify the Igbo connection. You understand what I'm saying? So a lot of that's going on. So I just wanted to also bring that to the table. That's all I had to say. I didn't want to interrupt the bill too much, but go ahead, King.
I got one more question for you before we get out of here.
Man.
What is your camp? What is the history of your camp?
Well, my camp is Sakari, so I can't. Modern or the ancient name in which we adopted it from. Okay.
The organization, how it starts here.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I basically woke up to the truth when I was 17 years old. Woke up to being a Hebrew Israelite when I was 17 years old. Got involved in another camp that's more so well known, Great Millstone. Have you heard of them guys? Got out of that camp in about 2012, and I just had a few brothers with me where I'm from in San Diego, and we started this organization. I learned about the ancient organization called the Sakari and how they were zealots in Israel, back about 2,000 years ago. So we adopted that name and that moniker, and we ran with that. And now we on the West Coast, San Diego, and in Seattle. But go ahead.
This is the thing I wanted to ask. When we talk to y'all, not you, Devon, not yet. I don't know. I gotta watch you because you kind of slick. When we look at the history of these organizations, specifically when we're dealing with like One West, all right? And we look at the foundations of these places. When we look at Mathis, If we go all the way back, let's just say the first person to even mention identify themselves with Hebrew Israelites was Gabriel Processor. Then you have the prophet.
You got Martin Robeson before then talking about a black Israel. And
no, even before that, you have the Baptist Church who made all of the people in the Bible black. So you got to remember that. It doesn't start there. But what we're really talking about is the identifying factor here, right?
Of themselves.
Right. So, and then the Esau and all that other stuff, right? So when we get to these people, right, so you got F.S. Cherry, right, then you got Crowley, right, and you have the Church of the Saints and the Pillar of the Church, etc. All of these organizations come out of the church. All of them come out of the church. This is what baffles my brain. They all come out of the church. We all have the name of Matthew's later congregation, the Ethiopian Hebrew congregation, on the walls. Royal Order of the Ethiop, and then we could look at AOC and say, give me Zephaniah 2:12, and death to the Ethiopian. But this is not your roots. When we look at Ben Amini, when we look at what he called it, the African Hebrew Israelite, to me, that what he did was revolutionary, even though I don't agree with what he did. He said, I'm not a part of this black power movement.
And he just abandoned.
He just left. But what he did was, he went over there and said, listen, we're going to go to Africa. We're going to Liberia because we know the history of Liberia. So if we want to look at our culture to see where we really from, and we looking at Liberia was set up by us, free blacks from here. So when we see this, we have these connections. But anyway, back to the origin of the Hebrew Israelites. When we look at the 20s, you have the Nation of Islam, you have the Moors, and you have them. You'll notice something that keeps them all together. They don't want to identify with being black. They don't want to do that.
You mean African?
Yeah, just black. Period. They don't want to. They don't want to identify with that. Why? Because of what is being going on to us. Thus, you'll see they want to be Indians. You'll see the turbans. You'll see this on their head to put that disconnect. So when we understand that part of the history, then we know why that happened, why they did that. So do we update this? Yes, we must update it. But again, when we look at the origin of them, Mathis, the Commandment Keepers, all of these, they had white people a part of their membership. This dude has a university, a rabbi school, and he converts to this. But this is where this came from. So if we see where this came from, now we get to this new phase. When you say, fuck the Africans. When you
heard me say
no, I'm just putting it out. When you say fuck the Africans, you're shitting on the whole entire continent of civilization that I spoke about when we was yesterday. Y'all wasn't there to hear it, but I talked about the Note culture. I talked about the Wagadu, the Kambanu. I started just like, yo, forget them. So when we do this, I think it's somebody, or maybe I might have to do it, we got to put this out. This is how these organizations start. So you all came from the church. Ain't no divine spirit came out of the thing and said, I'm a Sakari, I'm a One West, I'm a AOC, and now you have your thing you're doing. Nobody did this. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, it's about the origins and what happened. Where's the disconnect come from? And let's put it together.
So what I'm saying is, so you're saying if people awaken to information and start organizations based off of that, is something wrong with that? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Like, let me give you an example. If somebody brings a concept that the people here in America, there's a possibility that they could either be Ethiopian Jews or the Beta Israel, because that's who they were connected to, the Beta Israel communities that was in Ethiopia. Or that they could have came a different route through the west, I would say the transatlantic slave trade, and made their way over here. Somebody brings up a concept. They start an organization. At that time, they didn't have as much information as we have today.
It's overkill.
Once they was gone, then we out.
Damn, man. I hope y'all enjoyed that. We're going to have the best of Rob B week.
Damn, how I learned so much since that time, man. Goddamn. That video almost got 100,000 views on it, man. That's crazy. I learned so much from that day. So, all right, 3 times. It's good with the chat. What's up, Mongo? What up, DM? Strange Magic. Man, ain't that many people in the chat today, huh? That's interesting. 44 people watching, so they sneaking. 43 people watching. Why only 21 likes cover the people? I don't know, man. But yeah, man, I learned so much from that time. But I just damn, that shit is almost got 100,000 views. So like, I'm listening to that, and I'm like, yeah, I said a couple of things there. I dropped some bombs in there, but there's some things. Devon said some things, and I'm listening, and I'm like, I was supposed to say the Saniki people or the people who founded ancient Ouagadougou, right? But I was, talking fast, speaking about the Berbers and their connection and the wars they were having with them. There's a couple things in there, man, but that was very interesting. Now, when I'm looking at it years later, I'm like, my position hasn't changed. I have learned more things. I got more deep into the American history. And the deeper I look, the deeper I have to put my bifocals on to find the goddamn Hebrew culture in the Americas. Zion Lex said he would debate me after I went on his show. We'll see if that happens. But I don't know, man. It's interesting to look at that and to see like where you at from that point. I would like to talk to Divine about the ephod vest and the divination of the Thummim and the whatever you call that of Urim and the Thummim. I think that's interesting that they casting lots to talk to God and shit. Then I want to talk about that necromancy, or they like to call that word Ab and say that means Obeah, and they couldn't reach God, so they called on their dead ancestors by calling on a so-called witch to bring back their ancestors. So, those things are African in general, just looking at that. So, I learned a lot since then. Very interesting, man. So what do y'all think about it? I don't know. Yeah. Take a break. One more time. Pull it in. 15. You all right? Elbow good? Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, how you say it? Geomancy. All right. Nah, I'm not a walking book. But yeah, man, I thought it was interesting. I learned a lot from that. And keep pulling. And one of the major things I learned, like he brought something up good about those ancient bones. I guess it wasn't enough for them to get DNA from it because they would have did it. We don't know about it. But my position doesn't change. It's even worse now. Because now that I understand DNA, I'm like, there is no haplogroup of a Jew. Doesn't exist. You can't find it. They have a study of something about the Levant and the ancient what is it called? Levant and ancient migrations, and that they found 5% of sub-Saharan African DNA in all the Levant region. And I'm like, okay, that's cute. That's back migration. It's back migration pattern. Okay. And like, all right. So they say that those individuals make up the original population of who became the Jews. So I said, this is interesting. Who's the other people? Nowhere in the scientific article does it identify who these other people are that these 5% of sub-Saharan Africans mixed up to make the foundation population. But if you get deep into it, we're really looking at the founders, the opponents, ancestors, and they don't exist. Really interesting. So today at 3:30, I have a debate coming up. There's a guy on Clubhouse. We're going to be talking about Pan-Africanism and Black nationalism versus ADOS reparations. I think they crybabies. Good. All right. Last one here. Stepping out. I think they're crybabies. They want to prey on reparations as the answer to Black people's problems and bang on Pan-Africanism and Black nationalism and talking about it didn't do nothing. And we know over here that that is the solution to our problem. A little lower, lower. That is the solution to our problem. We have no other thing to look at. All we got to do is look at Marcus Garvey. All we got to do is look at Elijah Muhammad. All we got to do is look at Black Panthers. There is no more light to be shed. There was nothing else. It was already given. So you could do that. You could fight for reparations. Well, you know, that's like waiting for God to come save you. Yeah, you can petition, you can enlighten people about it, but what you gonna do in the meantime? Very interesting conversation. So I'm gonna catch a Ado's body later, put somebody in a coffin. He's gonna be the sacrificial lamb. Take a break. Let it go. Nothing. Yeah, you're making me nervous now, man. All right. One round, going half, and then you could just come back. So once you get there to that end, then turn around that way, like that, then come back. Yeah, you're making me nervous now, man. You're making me nervous today. All right, so yeah, man, it's very interesting, y'all. Oh, ADOS, yeah, they going under the bus. Oh, what they do on Clubhouse? Let me tell you what they do on Clubhouse. So these people, they leave. I think they run away from the old. They don't mess with Yvette and Tone. So they got their little splinter group. So what they do is now they bang on immigration, and they say that immigration is bad. And they bang on Black immigrants from the Caribbean, they bang on them, and they bang on Africans. And then they say the Africans are coming over here stealing our jobs. So then when they have that dialogue, because they're not expressing it correctly, you're offending these different people that are really from these continents. So that causes a problem. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, and I don't understand it. I don't get it. Your reparation movement comes from Pan-Africanism and Black nationalism. No Pan-Africanism, no reparations. What are we talking about? You didn't do nothing. You're a baby. Nah, on YouTube. You all right? Okay. We're gonna grab the band.
I know it, but I'm not.
We're gonna do a jumping squat and pull. So you're gonna back up, pull, back up some more. Yep. And you're going for 15. Ready? Last round. Okay. And pull. Boom. 2. Back up a little more.
But also, if I get a place,
Or right after you're done, last round, running sideways, and you're done. Got to squeeze your upper back. But yeah, y'all. I think it's very interesting. We're going to have a ball. Catch me. Now, the debate going to happen here. Mars Mathematics said Pan-Africanism is one-sided. Please explain why. And this is the issue that I'm having with them here. You know what I'm saying? I did a build on Sarmeta about exactly what it is and where it came from and what we do. And it seems like nobody gets it. I don't understand. It says 11,000 people watched it. So here's the thing, right? People think that Pan-Africanism means that okay, the people from America is going to assist the people in Africa, and the people from Africa are not assisting the people in America. And I said, okay, so where'd you get that from? Pan African is an ideology saying that we share a common history, meaning that we came from the continent. And in order for us to survive wherever we at, we must unite by utilizing our culture and our shared experience and build to fight the enemy. That's it. It doesn't mean you don't have to go back to Africa. You don't have to help nobody with Africa. You don't have to even connect with nobody in Africa. So that's really interesting. And when you look at those founders, those people who become the founders of the community, they all decide to not even go there. So what are we talking about? It's weird. Okay, you're gonna put your leg here. And what is the next day you want to meet?
Tuesday is good. Tuesday.
Tuesday, Friday. Okay. So what do you think about Mayor?
Well, I still think Eric Adams is going to win.
You think so? Yeah.
I've read a little bit about it. In almost all ranked choice voting, the person who's ahead after the first round
Wins?
wins almost always. But
That didn't happen to Bloomberg. He didn't win the first
it
round.
wasn't ranked choice.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, when I started.
Oh, it won't come up. Damn it. This shit is fucking stuck. Come on. Come on, Ben.
Setting it up. Actually, if Wiley ends up that he's going to say, you know, there was some kind of hanky going on.
They all gonna do that, though.
I don't think the other two of them. I think we're gonna like Erica.
They all like to play that weird game.
She has the best chance.
We'll see. So no more De Blasio. Yang is out of there. You was scared last week about Yang. I don't know why.
You know, a lot of support.
And then it dwindled.
Unfortunately, his state recognition. And
Yeah, he got that. He definitely got the name recognition. Hold on, y'all. I'm gonna be right back on in 2 minutes. Yeah, he had name recognition. Yeah, you was nervous. You was like, I don't think so. It's not gonna open them. They made it. They did something to keep it stuck. But we'll see. I gotta rush out of here, so I'll see you Tuesday. All right. Breaks off this night, Beatles. That's gonna be my new thing, y'all. Y'all gonna see a lot of debates. I'm not arguing with these guys on there no more because they not showing no sources. I don't know who they think they did it with. I don't think they know they fucking with the God in the flesh. I'm gonna have to show them. You know what I'm saying? Beat the brakes off of you heard? Gonna come over here, pulling up your website statistics. Look at statistics.
And it says immigration affects white people and blah, 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 blah. No Pan-Africanism, no reparation movement. I'm going, yo, you should hear these dudes, yo. There's a chick that they be following. I think her name is Connie or some shit like that. Yo, man, them dudes be up in there saying, fuck them advocates, fuck Pan-Africans. They ain't never do shit for us. They lazy, blah, 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 talking that hot shit. Then my man Gullah was talking to the chick today, this other girl, and she moved to Berkeley County. Oh, and then on Helena Island and all that, right? He asked her, his family work in politics. So he said, yo, are you gonna work? Are you gonna contact the Queen and Gullah? She's like, nah, man, I don't want to. Nah, I ain't fucking with her. Then today is a different story. Oh, I talked to her before. Yeah, I'm gonna talk to her. We gonna get on board and da da da. All this fucking shit. Then turn around and say fuck the Africans. But don't worry, I'm gonna be playing that video today. I'll have some recordings. We're gonna have some fun today. I'm gonna bury some of these niggas think I don't know about politics. They think the God don't know about politics. This shit crazy. We're gonna have fun today. But this week is gonna be the best of Raborn. I'm gonna be throwing up some stuff, some videos you guys probably didn't see. But it's gonna be epic. It's gonna be epic. It's gonna be epic. Oh, what the God said. I couldn't read it because I was talking to my client. Hold on, let me see what you put here. That can't be denied that we are the original man, but if you're coming over to the States and cyber other groups against us, that's a problem. Yeah, so we gotta show this mass group of black people that have come and immigrated to America siding with people that is against our interests. You can't just pick the one Nigerian dude and be like, yeah, he running for governor in Detroit, and he like, yo, get rid of Black History Month. Yeah, he did that. That's one person, bro. And he not even a governor. I mean, so, you know, we got to look at that in its whole totality. I appreciate the difference of our cultures, but then they jump on our politics and work against our interests. Yeah, you're going to have to show that, God. You're going to have to show and prove how any of these people, Trinidadians, Jamaicans, you got to show that. You know what I'm saying? All right. Peace, Jesus. Yeah, ignorance is all around. Peace supposed to be woke, still brainwashed. Yeah, yeah. You recorded it. You're a real one. Yeah. I ain't get the whole thing though. I just got the shit with the chick talking crazy. So when I debate this guy today, he going under the bus with her. He going with her. But yeah, my phone on 2%. I'm take this bike, jump on the train. See, I worked out first earlier. Me and my man Cowboy put that pain in 24 rounds, baby. 24 rounds in like 30 minutes. Bang, bang, bang. And I ain't go to sleep last night, bro. I ain't go to sleep last night, bro. I've been up warming up. I want some beast mode shit. I'm not normal, man. Getting crazy. Yeah, man. Peace to the fam, because I don't want this shit to cut off and I'm still on here. Tune in today, 3:30. Black nationalism, Pan-Africanism versus ADOS, whatever the hell that shit is. I'm putting them niggas out of, I'm putting them on the pressure. I can't debate the Aboriginals no more because they running from me. They running scared. I made them tuck their tail. Bottom kitten is dead. He don't want to smoke. He put out the bat signal and said we not messing with Raborn in them books. So we had all of the Aboriginals blocking. So I can't see none of their rooms. I don't know what's going on in there. I just get reports. They don't want me popping in on them and shoot up the room. You know what I mean? So that shit boring now. So since these guys, the ADOS, have a similar argument, I'm on their neck now. So now I'm gonna go beat them up. They next. No, it's not on Clubhouse. On it, right here on this channel. I'm not doing that on that. I'm not having no debate on there. You can't show nothing. They just be talking shit, bro. I don't want to hear that. Show your information. I guarantee you, after the first round, I put money on it. After the first round, he ain't gonna have nothing else to show. He gonna show all the statistics, right? Here, see, immigration does this, does that, does this, does that, blah, 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 blah. After that first 10 minutes, he dead. He ain't got nothing else. I can tell, man, who be reading and who don't read. They don't know that we've been doing this shit for years. Come on, son. We've been doing this shit since 95. I can tell where you at if I just talking to you. I start talking to you, you start talking to me about black melanin and all that. All right, you know the Dr. Rich King page. I start talking to you, you talking to me about Egyptian mystery school. All right, you in the Stolen Legacy phase. I start talking to you, you start talking to me about Freemasonry symbols and the African and all that, and all this shit. The Mel Ruka, okay, you in the Ashford crazy shit. Nigga, you can't get around us. Nigga, we unstoppable. We unfucking stoppable, man. We can just talk to you and tell you what you read. You start talking about Native Americans, you start talking that shit, we know if you are Aboriginal. You start talking that crazy shit, we know if you're dealing with Clyde Winters. You start talking about Egypt started in America, you know you talking about that clown, whatever his name is, Horace Grant. You can't get around us. We're unstoppable, man. You know what I'm saying? No, I'll get you, Mars. But yeah, man. Tune in today, 3:30. Tell a friend, tell a friend. We're gonna have we're gonna have somebody that's gonna be a sacrificial lamb for the 8-0. First 8-0 debate on here. We're gonna have a sacrificial lamb. I like him though. I think he's cool, man. So don't violate him in the chat. Don't talk shit to him. Don't violate him in the chat. But yeah, man. Peace to the gods, peace to the herbs, peace to the black people in the universe.